Yo, BJ Gaddour with the Daily BJ. Welcome to the Garden of Gains. And today we're touching on my favorite shoulder-friendly pressing variations. Now these are the modifications or alternative exercise options to allow you to train around limited shoulder mobility or shoulder pain, impingement, stuff like that. But you still want to address the mobility restrictions that are happening at the shoulder joint, in particular missing shoulder extension, shoulder flexion, shoulder rotation. I highly recommend checking out Dr. Kelly's Shred of Mobility WOD in his book, Becoming a Supple Leopard. But in the meantime, we don't stop training, we train around those issues, find a way to still get the gains without the pain. Here we go. Exercise 1, band chest presses. Yes, you can do this on a cable device, but the beauty of the band tension is that where your joints are at most risk, or when there are your biggest mobility issues, missing shoulder extension, when that band or bar is close to your chest, that's when the band has the least amount of load. And then as your joints get into stronger positions, the band increases in resistance. So right here in lockout is where it's hardest. It's also nice to be on your feet because you work your core, your lower body and hip stabilizers. And this one is a great way to keep working the chest, tricep, anterior shoulder muscles, again, plus the core and the stability benefits, plus the athletic functional benefits of getting on your feet. And one thing I like to do too is you can do some fast reps, or you can incorporate 1 to 5 second pauses on the way out, really pushing the shoulder blades away from each other, get that serratus anterior muscle alongside the rib cage, which is very important for shoulder health. So this is one that will really give you a lot of miles, allow you to train around it. Up next is the incline chest press. The incline chest press is a great way to work around limited shoulder mobility or shoulder injuries, and beyond targeting a lagging area of the pectorals, the upper pecs, upper chest, it allows you to bypass some range of motion restrictions. So when you go with a flat press, if you can't get full shoulder extension, what happens is that shoulder rounds and dumps forward, internally rotates, and now you're at great risk of injury. So this is a nice way to get a slight incline, free up that shoulder a bit, and also the dumbbell or bell options just allow you to get a little more rotation and natural freedom of movement that will feel better than a barbell option anyway. So I've got some center mass bells, a pair of dumbbells works well too, and I get that slight incline set up. I really focus on hugging the bench with my upper back, cueing the chest, keeping my abdominals tense, tightening the glutes, and I press up and kind of bring the bells together, squeezing them titties at the top, and then I'm working on building that whole pressing pattern. Definitely gonna go lighter than normal compared to flat pressing, but what I like about that is lighter loads go longer way, especially if you have minimal equipment options at home. So this is a great way to still keep pressing around that shoulder pain if you don't have the full range of motion there. Up next, we'll find out. So usually the issue that people will have is towards the bottom of that pressing pattern, when the mobility restriction can really bring itself out, or an injury. You know, again, that's where the joint forces tend to be the highest and pain can be a real issue. So working with a movement like a floor press, which actually hacks the move and emphasizes the top portion of the move, is a way to not only work around shoulder pain, but also build the top portion of your pressing pattern, which tends to be the biggest issue, right? If you can't lock it out, the rep doesn't count. So it really helps with triceps, and not only can you go with, you know, the typical 30 degree away from the trunk pattern in terms of the elbow positioning, but you can also go super elbows tight, palms facing hammer grip, very shoulder friendly and awesome for really building out those triceps. Barbell or bell option can work. If you come down here, you're gonna cue the chest, elbows tight to the side, the weight rests on the triceps, and you press up. We don't want to be bouncing the weight off our triceps there. You come down, I like to take a full pause there, gather, and then press through. And keep those shoulders down, ribs and shoulders down, abs engaged. If you want to take your legs out of the movement entirely, straighten them out. And then again, keeping the glutes and abs engaged, work on that floor pressing pattern, very shoulder friendly, and also you can really load up on that if needed without feeling pain and making it happen. Next one is next. Now let's get the best of both worlds, combining dead weight and band resistance. The ascending band resistance that unloads you more at the bottom, but accentuate the movement at the top with the most tension. So what you do here is you take this band, and again, beyond allowing you to access a more challenging, you can add progressive overload with this by just adding band tension to weight you're normally using. But again, lighter loads go a longer way, and there's zero tension from the band to the bottom, and then top tension at the top. So again, if we're having trouble getting to the bottom, or you want to go higher rep or just work around an issue, you take the band, wrap it underneath the armpits, you grab your bells, and then you do your normal pressing pattern and get a nice full stretch. Same concept, hug the bench with the upper back, press through, and then squeeze through the top, keeping those shoulders down and the chest up. And this is an amazing way Also, because one thing you don't get with just dead weight is the external stimulus to push all the way through the top of the rep. A lot of times people stop short. With that band, you've got to really focus on fully extending at those joints, squeezing it out. You'll get great contractions to the chest and the triceps, and again, very easy on the shoulders. Just like chest pressing with the band can be easier on the joints, so can overhead pressing. It unloads you, again, at the most intimate, if you will, portion of the movement, where it's most challenging, that full range of motion position. And if you have limited shoulder flexion, again, you still got to work on the mobility issues, but the beauty of this too is there's minimal load here, and as I press up, not only do I press up, but I can press away, create a nice good scapular retraction, really getting the whole upper mid-back, rear shoulder complex, rotator cuff even, and hold it for a count, bring it back. Just allows for really improving the stability through the shoulders, and again, we get peak tension where your joints are the strongest at the top of the exercise. Don't just press up, press apart, and it's a great corrective exercise for the entire shoulder complex. If you can't come all the way down, you can even start by your nose, give yourself a little band mustache, all right, and just find a way to access that pressing pattern, or even going with more of a higher incline type setup. If that really bothers the shoulders still, it really means you have to look at improving shoulder flexion, possibly seeing a physiotherapist or a doctor, because that could be really problematic. So one thing to note with pressing is a hammer grip where the palms are facing is going to put your shoulder in the most friendly position it can have. So overhead pressing with the arms out like this, more of a pronated overhand grip, or elbows out, that's going to put potentially more strain through that whole shoulder joint. Coming here, elbows tight to the side, palms facing, is a lot more shoulder friendly inherently. So let me just show that basic hammer grip overhead press option. The same thing applies, by the way, to chest pressing, but again, most people have trouble more at the overhead press because there's more range of motion requirements than the horizontal chest pressing option. So palms are facing, ribs and shoulders out, abs tight, glutes engaged. You press up. You're trying to get those biceps alongside the ears, all right? And the thing about that too, if that bothers your shoulder, one thing you can do is actually go to a push pressing pattern, all right? So actually come from the side here. So all I'm gonna do is, since it's gonna be most challenging coming from the bottom of that movement, I'm gonna use my hips to help overdrive that weight. So I'm gonna push the hips down like a little quarter squat dip, and then lower in control and have the weights kind of catch up. So it's a quarter dip. You're gonna push the knees out, hips back, and now I can actually do that pressing pattern. And again, because I'm getting hip assistance to drive the weight overhead where it's most challenging, and then triceps kind of take advantage towards the top where it becomes mechanically a lot more advantage for you. That's a way to work around shoulder issues when it comes to overhead pressing. So the push press or the hammer grip overhead pressing option is phenomenal. Landmine pressing is one of my favorite options because it allows you to take a angle that middles a true horizontal versus vertical press, very shoulder friendly, and will still get the anterior shoulders and the upper pecs and pretty much the whole chest going at the same time. So you want to put a barbell into a landmine post or into a corner of a wall. If you're using the corner of the wall option, make sure to pad it with a mat or a towel so we're not scraping up that wall. But all we do here is we raise up the weight, we start right about sternum level, ribs and shoulders down, abs tight, glutes clenched, and we press like that. And again, this midline pattern, this nice little arcing path of the bar is super friendly on the shoulders and will light up your chest, shoulders, and triceps. You can even work on kind of squeezing your hands into the bar to really get that adduction effect at the chest level to really make those chesticles get chiseled up real nice. All right, I can also do this on one arm at a time to strengthen imbalances between sides and even get more of a core training effect because of the asymmetrical load. So either two arm or one arm, probably the most accessible pressing option you'll find besides the band options. Final option requires a little more of a setup. Excuse my modified setup here. My rack has not arrived to the Garden of Gains yet. It'll be here soon. But you just basically want to make sure it's elevated into a rack setup to allow yourself to use what's called the Bandbell setup. This is actually called a Bandbell Earthquake Bamboo Bar, which is designed for what's called oscillating kinetic energy training. So by loading it up with a band tension, the oscillating effect creates a lot of extra activation and work for your stabilizing muscles, and it makes a lighter load go a longer way. It also slows you down, increases time under tension, and all of these things are amazing for improving joint health and building muscle that supports joint function. Great for warm-ups, Great also for just main workouts or additional workouts that are easier to recover from, again, because of lower joint stress, less fatigue for your nervous system. So again, mind me, because again, usually I'd want to set up differently. I'm going to kind of look awkward as I come away from you here, but I'm going to rack it, and I like to do these with my feet blocked together, and then I squeeze my legs together, crunch the abs, clench the glutes, zip up the entire midline of the body, and I press overhead, get to full lockout right there. And here's where we want to make sure we don't extend the back. So I'm really crunching my abs down and pushing my fists to the sky, and then I lower and control. I love doing these personally for sets of 1 to 2 straight minutes with a slower up, slower down pattern. Just owning the movement, owning the range of motion, and the pump is precious with these babies. You'll be blown away by how light of a weight you need to get this effect. You can do this with weight plates or kettlebells in terms of how you set the bands up to hang them like that, right? And again, that's never how you want to rack it, just bear with me. All I do here is I loop it through the weight, and then one end of each band is on the bar. You can also do this with a regular barbell, but again, the bamboo bar just has a little more of an oscillation effect. It's more designed for that. So I hope you've got at least several options you can pick to never stop training. When you stop training, you lose the gains. It's very easy to lose gains. It's not easy to make gains. So people that stay fit, that really find a way to make it a long-term type of lifestyle, they never stop. They find ways to work around injuries, they address the mobility restrictions, they get the tissue work they need, but they use exercise that get them out of pain and allow them to make gains in a safe way. Hope these help. Love you guys. Peace.